when I found out yesterday via Twitter, of course, that Google would be shutting down its Google Reader. I felt a surprising wave of nostalgia. I don't spend much time using Google Reader nowadays, but for a few years, when I was a newspaper columnist for the Boston Globe, it was the first website I saw in the morning and the last I saw before bed. I would spend hours every day in Reader, scrolling its lists, renaming its categories, opening its tiny menus, and clicking its little boxes. Hearing that Google Reader is shutting down is like hearing that your favorite old bookstore is closing, not the one you go to now, but the one you went to in college, where you bought no logo and the unbearable lightness of being. Oh, yeah, I used to spend a lot of time there. Today, in exploratory spirit, I longed back in Google Reader. I discovered, is like an infinite attic. Inside it, your old interests, which you've outgrown or set aside, keep on growing. It's as though your old passions wandered off and lived their own lives, without you. Looking back through my Reader number of unread posts, 1,000+, I was struck, first of all, by the categories I'd created, each representing some prior epoch of my life. Take, for example, Web Design 1999 to 2003. It was first assembled back when I was a professional web designer. Do people even call themselves web designers now? And it contains feeds for websites I haven't thought about in a decade, like Signal versus Noise, A List Apart, and Calibre 10,000. The feeds themselves were almost certainly imported from a pre-reader app like NetNewsWire. Looking through the folder, I can only conclude that, apparently, I used to know a lot about web design. All that knowledge is gone now. I wondered, will the same thing happen to the contents of the Academia 2003 to 2010 and Dissertation 2005 to 2012 folders? Academia, for its part, contains only one feed, for the Call for Papers website, which has hundreds and hundreds of unread posts. Maybe if I participated in more symposia, I'd be an English professor now. Dissertation, on the other hand, contains loads of saved JS queries, as well as dozens of feeds for websites like Conscious Entities and the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. I still read those websites, even though I haven't finished my dissertation, which raises an alarming question: what will I do when, or if, I move to a new RSS reader? Will I create a new dissertation folder? Or have I given up hope? Other folders are narrower and more project-based. A surprisingly extensive style folder 2005 to 2006 chronicles my attempts to transform from a schlub into a mensch. There's a folder for interior design 2004 to 2005 from around the time my wife and I moved into our first apartment. The staggeringly ironic productivity folder 1999 to 2009 is full of feeds like 43 folders and sin habits. It surely represents thousands of hours of wasted time. In another folder, Gift Ideas 2003 present, there are more than a dozen blogs about women's fashion. For years, I browsed the folder in search of presents for my wife. Looking through the feeds there, even Cleveland, Garant's Story, Sea of Shoes, Tomboy Style, Wixton, that kind of woman. I can't help but marvel at how people's lives have changed. Garant's got together with the Sartorialist. Wixton moved from Brooklyn to Iowa. Women's style blogs, it turns out, are better than men's because they're full of personal details. Men's blogs are just photos of cars and pocket squares. All of those feeds, meanwhile, are reminders of a more relaxed time, a time when Google Reader was, basically, for fun. That changed in 2010, when I took over a column called Brainiac in the Boston Globe's Ideas section. As the Brainiac, I was responsible for writing the blog about new ideas. At the end of the week, 3 of the ideas would appear in a beautifully illustrated spread in the Sunday paper. Anything could be an idea: a new sculpture, the new building, the blog post, the just-written academic tome. Inside my Google Reader, this was the Cambrian explosion, modernism, the Renaissance. All of a sudden there were lots of surprising new folders: architecture, the Architect's newspaper, arts journal, economics, interfluidity, linguistics, language log, and so on. There are lots more, but I can't give away all of my RSS feeds. Just as a soldier lives for battle, just as a wolf lives for the hunt, so my Google Reader, I felt, was leading the life I was meant to lead. A few months in, after I'd carefully curated my feeds, my reader really did seem to contain the entirety of the world of ideas. A few hours with Reader, and I could read the New Republic and the Wilson Quarterly, City Journal and Prude, F-Train and Escape CD. Biblio kept and grasping reality with both hands, the American Prospect and Idle Words. I lived, and read, in a state of information-saturated bliss. It lasted until I discovered an even better version of Google Reader, publicists at publishing companies, who, if you are a book reviewer, will send you review copies. As I transitioned to a mostly book-based diet, Reader fell by the wayside. In announcing the closure of Reader, Google said that usage has been declining, and I can see why. Reader was made for absurdly ambitious readers. It's designed for people like me, or, rather, for people like the person I used to be, that is, for people who really do intend to read everything. You might feel great when you reach inbox 0, but, believe me, it feels even better to reach Reader 0, to scroll and skip until you've seen it all. Twitter, which has replaced Reader and RSS for many people, works on a different principle. It's not organized or completist. There are no illusions with Twitter. You can't pretend, by marking it read, that you've read it all. You don't think you're going to cram the world of ideas into your Twitter stream. At the same time, you're going to be surprised, provoked, informed. It's a better model. But Reader had a lot going for it, too. Using Twitter feels, to me, like joining a club. Reader felt like filling up a bookcase. It was a place for organizing your knowledge, and also for stating, and reviewing, your intentions and commitments. It kept the record of the things you meant to read but never did, of the writers you loved but don't anymore. I won't miss Reader when it shuts down, on July 1st. But I will miss the old me, the person I described in Google Reader, without knowing it.